This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report, the only podcast on the internet with two extremely sexy-sounding guys. Hi, I'm Tyler. And with me, as always...
Our voices are all smooth like caramel.
Smooth like jazz.
Smooth like jazz.
And that lovely man is Mr. James Cole, the Superman of Red, and I'm the Superman of Blue, because together we are Wild Superman. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Actually, me and Jamie just watched Face the Music last night. She hasn't seen it yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Junia and I have been in a... she was talking about this stuff she had read and stuff on philosophy and different ideas, and I was like, okay, it's time to revisit The Matrix. And her and I have been watching all three of them and really focusing more on dialogue and the plot and what's being said more so than just the action, because I feel like that's what people think of when they thought of those movies. But the dialogue is so heavy and interesting, worth talking about, and so it's interesting. And another interesting fact to tie it back to Superman is it's so weird how time works, because somehow 97 to me feels like such a huge gap to 99. It's only 2 years, but in my life, it feels like such stark differences because I moved in between there and stuff like that. But, around 97, 98, I can't remember the exact, is when they canceled Superman Lives. And a lot of the people that were working on pre-production on Superman Lives and stuff went over and started working on The Matrix. And if you look at some of the designs for some of the crazy Brainiac type stuff they were working on, you can see how it filtered into the world of The Matrix. It's interesting stuff on how movies work. But hey, it's a beautiful day in Ohio. It's sunny and warm, finally. Feels like it's kind of summerish. And we are going to talk some Superman and some DC stuff. So let's jump into some weird stuff. Ready? Weird fact number 1. Thanks to HBO Max, I've been rewatching Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I discovered that Mr. Wayne Brady, one of his first acting roles was on an episode of Season 3 of Superboy. And what sucks is
what's up with HBO Max not giving us Superboy again so we could check that out?
Exactly. That is the one thing I was talking about with some friends is when I said I missed DC Universe. They're like, oh, it's all on HBO Max. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. Over half the content is still missing off of HBO Max.
Because what I loved about was some of the special, comic-y things they would do, like the writers on Batman, or the little, mini... they did it for Aquaman, they did it for Shazam, little, documentary things. And those were awesome. But the thing that's killing me is I want my Adventures of Superman series, and I want my Superboy series, because I don't have all of that. I was making my way through Superboy. And I was entering season 3, or I was in the middle, I can't remember. And that's not on HBO Max. And neither's the George Reeves, The Adventures of Superman, which I was working through.
Or the Legion.
Or the
Legion?
We
were reviewing and then just lost.
I mean... it's the old content, I think, that helps make the product more enriched. I talked about that before. The old Shazam series, that was worth just checking out just to say I watched it. But anyways, I want my Superboy and my Adventures of Superman. HBO Max.
Lois and Clark.
Want
that on there, too.
I want that on there. Luckily, I have all of that on DVD because that wasn't that hard to find. But yeah, that would be cool to have back, too, just to have my full scope of Superman. And quickly we'll announce I got my poll results for my Batgirl what universe she should be in. 53% of the voters said she should be part of the Birds of Prey WB films. 29% said The Batman. 6% said Titans. and 12% said new/her own universe. So, interesting.
And you can't blame people for saying its own universe because, WB is crap.
I mean, I don't blame them for any of their opinions. I mean, we want these characters to interact, especially Bat Family characters, because they're all so, tight and unique and blend together well, and they share a world. Speaking of Batman, did you see that Andrew Muschietti, however you say his last name, I apologize for mispronouncing, revealed a picture of what appears to be a new suit in the style replication of the Batman 89 suit. But this is what was fun about it. It's just a symbol with like some of the bat, the chest plate, like really up close on it. There is what appears to be red jelly on it. And a lot of people have gone now to go crazy to speculate that it is a Watchmen/Doomsday Clock reference, meaning that could be part of the storyline of their film instead of Flashpoint, as many people have talked and speculated. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think he could just be screwing with us. So what do you think?
Obviously the first thing I thought about when I saw it was the Watchmen reference, the blood on the pin. But I don't know what the plan is. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to finding out and see what they do with it. As Ezra Miller, he's wanted his Flash closer to what Zach did, and hopefully with Andy, he got more of what he wanted. So
I hope so. We like the Flash. It's crazy because I love the character. I like I love the show. Okay, and I hate when people are like, "We got the Flash show." Yes, I know, and I enjoy the Flash show very much. But we're like in our 8th season, and in a lot of ways, we've done a lot of stories for the good or the bad on that show. And my thought is I would very much like to see some of the stories maybe redone or done better because there were some of them that I just didn't like the way they did.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing... Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
No, you're fine. I was going to say the effects, just having that larger budget because we saw the great effect of how Flash looked when he ran and stuff and the Speed Force in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So there's the
effects he had on the world around him and everything.
So it would be very cool to see more of that.
Yeah. What I was going to say is kind of with the movie, we have a centralized character to focus on, being the Flash, being Barry Allen. With the television show, they have to do their formulaic ensemble and team dynamic.
Yes.
And it's taken away from the character of Barry Allen. He only gets to portray some of Barry Allen's better qualities, not just the Flash, but Barry Allen, like his intelligence and his detective skills and things like that. You only get to see that once in a while because they have to give that to everybody else.
Yeah.
Around
Barry is a very smart person in the comics, but in a lot of ways they've taken that because they have Cisco and they want to do that with him. And you're absolutely right. It is a big deal that we would actually like to have, the character done as the character and not, I think that's my problem is and this is one thing, I don't want to say a problem, but one thing that kind of bums me sometimes with Superman and Lois is just we have a lot of characters. If you think about it, we have that we're trying to service and we're trying to get their stories and they're all good characters. I just, at times I'm like, man, I really want to just focus on Clark. I really just want Clark. We have the Sarah, the Lana, Kyle. Then you have Morgan Edge with Leslie, and you have the boys, Lois, Clark. And then you have you might have the Stranger / John Henry Irons and Sam Lane. So I mean, you have an ensemble like that. It's all great characters, but sometimes, man, I want more Clark. And it's just kind of funny because I was thinking about I found a new podcast called Smallville Anthology, and it's like a monthly podcast, but it's like a documentary that you're listening to. Because like there's a narrator who's pulled quotes and stuff from all time of Smallville from different sources and is bringing that into the podcast. And I was just thinking, like, man, back you think about that story, how you mainly just had less characters, like you were really following. And you're like Clark, Lex, sometimes the parents, Lana, but mainly Clark. But moving on from my rants and tangents, let's talk about what else we saw. A tease picture of the new Shazam suit. And as I quote Solomon here, it looks better. End quote.
It does. It does look better. It doesn't look as soft. Doesn't look as puffy. Doesn't look as much like puffy sewn in muscles. Mm-hmm. And we know Zachary Levi got big, but add a few years onto that for actual training, because he's got to keep up training for these roles. These people who sign multiple deals for these movies, they have to continue training, and of course with consistency and time that gets better. So he's more improved, he's in better shape, more muscular, and the suit fits him better, and it actually gives him more of a muscular look.
So the picture we saw is like a behind the scenes, like they're about to do a stunt, is what I was telling Solomon, because there's no cape attached. You can see some like a wire behind him and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And
it looks like it looks like maybe they've got the markers for where the cape's going to be when they add it digitally. Yep.
So that's what I was telling Solomon. It's probably like a flying scene or a fight scene they're working on. And it looks good. There's more texture and design to the costume instead of just being like a solid kind of red that the other one was. The gauntlets look cool because they're more angled and they're gold that fades into a silver. And it looks like a nice evolution from the first costume. We got a short video that was funny because it was just like 18 seconds long of him standing. And it's like it starts to show and pan up, and then it's him like, could someone turn on a light? Like at least one light here? And
yeah, it was kind of like a joke poking fun at the fact that this symbol isn't lit up right now. You know? I think David Sandberg said that it's going to light up recently, because that's something that people said, why isn't it light up, or is it going to light up? And I think he said it's going to. But I think at this iteration or this version of the suit, like, it's not lit up. So I think they actually shot that just to for because of people saying about it lighting up.
Probably. And just it's a fun tease. It's
well, that's how Sandberg is too, So
yeah, it is. It's interesting. Like, he seems like such a fun, goofy guy. And I would recommend anybody who likes his work. Like, he's done mainly horror other than Shazam. He did back here when quarantine first happened. He did a little short couple-minute film that him and his wife made at home in quarantine that is pretty creepy and sweet. Like, his wife is the actress that's in Shazam. She's the one that touches the door and turns to dust.
Yeah.
When she's talking to Savannah. So yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but like you find his YouTube, you'll find it. It's really cool. I'm thinking they're going to go with the light, maybe more of a little bit different style, like blend in with post production, probably more compared to how the other light was, because like the other light had all kinds of like batteries and tubes and stuff that ran through it so that it was always lit and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if this one's going to be a little bit more of a combination of like doing something with an actual light on for like the reflection on him, but then in post more so than just having it actually lit up, because it's more flat than before.
Well, what I kind of assume probably is like it'll look more static like that, more gold, and then, you know, like you said, post production. But I'm sure that they'll have a suit with a light up one for like maybe a time when he uses his powers and it starts to glow, something like that. So yeah, same thing you said. Just yep.
I figure the glow and stuff is going to be probably maybe much more, like you said, like comes from he's using his power compared to just constant.
Yeah.
But that's all I got for news. It's been kind of a slow news week, and that's cool. Like, it's nice.
I mean, they shared that they were beginning production on the final episode of Titans Season 3.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So that's pretty cool to know that they're working on the final episode. And, you know, it's just a couple of months away in August when we're going to finally get Season 3.
You are absolutely correct. I also want to throw this out there real quick for everyone who's listening. When Fury of the Gods comes out, one of the books we're going to review is have it written down the exact time. It's the Superman Shazam First Thunder by Judd Winnick.
Yeah, I read that.
We're gonna review that around the time that the movie comes out as a tie-in. Oh, here's what it is. Last thing, I got my 4K Blu-ray of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I ordered it from Amazon UK. Wasn't sure if it was going to work, you know, ordering it from the UK website, and I didn't even know I could access it. And it was delivered to me. And I know, James, that you just ordered the Blu-ray from Amazon UK.
I did. I don't have a 4K player or TV. I thought about it, but I decided just to get the Blu-ray, and eventually when it's released here in the U.S. physically,
if they ever will,
the thing is, you know what I said before. I think I posted it on Twitter. Was HBO Max is only available in America for now. It's going to like South America or Latin America in June, so this month. Yeah. It's releasing sometime in June, but the rest of the world still doesn't have it. So they have the VOD and they have physical because that's how it's being distributed worldwide. But in America, they're not distributing it physically, because if you want to watch it, they want you to come over to HBO Max, so that way you can see that and you can see everything else they have there. It's driving people to HBO Max to see it, which is fine. So they're holding off the physical release here. I'm sure there are plans for it, but not until HBO Max is more widely rolled out. And, you know, hopefully this Warner Brothers Discovery merger, which we did get that name this week, Warner Brothers Discovery, very original. I think Warner Discovery would have been better. Yeah. Just call it Warner Discovery or WB Discovery as opposed to Warner Brothers Discovery. But hopefully, you know, with that worldwide market, it'll be able to roll out, and, you know, hopefully we'll get that physical here, because I'm definitely purchasing it again on 4K when I when I upgrade and I have the ability to.
And I'm going to do the reverse of you. I'm going to purchase it on the Blu-ray combo pack with the DVD. So
if they even do a DVD anymore,
they do, because you can order the DVD from UK.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And it's because, you know, like I like to have as many copies as possible, but also have it so the kids can access it. Because yes, the kids like it. I know. And
well, yeah, they can watch the lower quality copy. Keep your grubby little mitts off my high quality stuff.
Well, also I can tweak. I like taking the DVDs because I can put them on the computer, and I can just have fun with editing footage and stuff. So
right.
That's why I like to get the DVDs, because then I can retweak some stuff, but I can also just, you know, have fun, like, just in the editing process. So
my, you know, speaking 4K and Blu-ray and DVD and everything, so I bought the Steelbook of the 20th anniversary of The Fast and the Furious, the original. And 20 years ago. 20 years ago. I bought the Steelbook. I wore out my first copy of The Fast and the Furious when it came out when I was in high school. I have another copy. I have another DVD, but it's only DVD. And I want to upgrade my movies and my series that I like, and so not what I intended, but the first 4K movie I bought was The Fast and the Furious.
It's also easier to like lean into that when it is something like, oh, here is the 4K with the DVD, or I mean with a Blu-ray.
Yeah, Blu-ray, digital code, and a Steelbook case. Like
it really helps, just because, you know, that was one thing. Like when I bought my first 4K, I wanted to buy a 4K player because I wanted to check it out. And I needed a new DVD player, period. So I was like, okay, so we'll just buy the 4K. And I had bought a 4K TV the year before at one of those big sales at Walmart, you know. And
yeah. Probably get like a $1,500 TV for like $1,100 or something.
Yeah, it was cheaper than that because it was one of those great tax time deals, I think back in 2018.
Oh.
But something like that. Like, I can't remember time. Anyways, it was just like, okay. And then the combo packs helped, because then, you know, you're like, okay, I can do this because I still, if my 4K player, because I only have the 4K, you know, in the one room, and I have more access to other players. That's, you know, the world we live in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I have one Blu-ray player. I don't have multiple Blu-ray players. You know, when I get something new, it'll be a 4K. And
I mean, technically, I have 3 Blu-ray players just because I have the old PS3 that's going to be in the kids' room when we move, and I have the PS4.
Right.
Which used to be in the bedroom, but Junia brought it out here to play. So, you know,
well,
that always helps, video game systems.
Absolutely. That's been a lifesaver for me in the past as well. Yeah, I don't know, like, the physical specs on, like, the discs and stuff, except for, like, you know, higher quality and higher storage capacity. But I mean, I heard that Blu-rays are more durable than your DVDs, you know, and,
they are.
And same thing with the 4Ks.
Yeah, the discs themselves are stronger. So it's something I learned when I worked at Blockbuster, and back when Blu-rays were first like hitting the market. And one of the best things I thought they did was the combo packs, because it was like, hey, you want to try Blu-ray? But if you're still stuck on your DVD, spend a little bit more money, get the new disc, and get a DVD. And I thought that was a great way to ease people into buying it, especially kids' movies, where parents had like, before, you know, everything went more streaming capable of like DVD players in cars and stuff like that. I thought it was a great way, but enough about that. let's take a quick pause and jump into our comic review. Hey, it's Tyler. I just wanted to say, if you're enjoying the Superman podcast, check out some of our other favorite Superman-based podcasts. We have the Aspiring Kryptonians, The Last Sons of Krypton, a new one that I discovered called Digging for Kryptonite, which is a great podcast, as well as my good friend Zach over at Always Hold On to Smallville, Luke Bug, the Geek of Steel, at the Geek of Steel podcast, and of course my brother from another mother, Mr. Phil Parrish, over on Capes and Lunatics, who is the master of all things podcasting. So just check those out and enjoy. So this week's comic review, we're going to tackle Batman Superman number 18, written by, I always apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name, because I'm horrible about reading the names, but I'm great about repeating after I've heard them. And that is Gene Yang, and the art pencils is Ivan Rice and Jose Luis. And I will tell you that this is probably the book that I'm enjoying. I don't know if I want to say the most, but maybe, I don't know. I'm really loving it.
It's very different. It really is. And it's good. It's good different.
Yeah. And it makes sense. And it's been great. And it's interesting because at first, when they first launched this, I thought it was going to be like an alternate Batman Superman because the Infinite Frontier. But it's been so cool about how these the archivist and the film and dropping things in. So James, why don't you kind of take us through the book real quick, and I'll let you lead.
Okay. So we pick up back where we left off with how are you pronouncing this? I just call him the auteur.
I think it's auteur 0.10 or 0.10.
Okay.
I'm just for short in my mind. I'm just saying auteur.
Yeah, that's what I've been calling it because I'm not going like auteur 0.10 or like that's just annoying and too much to read.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it just makes more sense the auteur being like that film reference,
Absolutely. But we're Earth Zero, the Thermosphere, and they're inside the Archive of Worlds, which is like just film reels. That's all it is. It's film reels all over the place. The auteur has a kryptonite ring, which is weakening Superman. But Batman being, prepared as he is, lasers the ring. So that way he can get Superman out of there so he can recover. They basically... Or the auteur pulls a Phantom Zone crystal out on them, which it comes back in the end, the Phantom Zone crystal. So I think that's having more to do with the auteur's ability to I don't know, go in and out of these worlds as it is, like some sort of ability to transverse other realities. But they go through a burn hole, a burn mark again, and they go back to Superman and Lois's world. They come back and they are in a Batcave, and it's really like they encounter machines that attack them on this Earth. This is where Martha is alive with Bruce, who's very he's very scared. He's almost like a little boy, as it were. He's a grown man, but I think he's been protected way too much by Martha. And we've got Alfred is Bane. Alfred has venom, and he's a He's definitely a protector of the Waynes. Inside this cave, they have what do they call him? The Unknown Wizard, or something like that. Which is that Earth's Lex Luthor.
Which is, it's cool because it's like, like traditional takes on these characters, very much the older not really the golden age, like exactly, but in that vein.
Yeah, like they seem very golden age. They're also like original. I mean, we got Martha Wayne, who's alive, and a man-child Bruce Wayne, who's been coddled by his mother for far too long. And Venom steroided out Alfred.
It's like, dang, we miss Alfred, and this is the Alfred we get. It's like, but okay.
Right? Super jacked Alfred going all roid rage on people. So Batman and Superman, they take out all the machines, and Jimmy Olsen somehow found his way into this cave, and Superman and Lois hear him, and Superman takes off to rescue him. And there's a nice little thing here. I like the interaction between Robin and Batman, because they talk about doing his trig homework and things like that, all his schooling, and Robin and Batman are going up the stairs, and he says, "Wait a minute, this staircase is our staircase." He says, "It shouldn't have taken you so long, Robin. I'll ask Alfred to double your forensics homework." And he's like, "Aw."
And like, it reminds me of the Batman 66 without the camp. It's got that punchiness, but not the camp style. So there's not the old chum or the haha, like it's the nice, like little, just kind of like you just said right there.
Like he's got learning to do. Like he has to study.
Now this is what's interesting is when they get upstairs and you see young, boyish Bruce hiding behind his mom, and there's Batman, and Batman's like, "Mother," and she shoots him in the shoulder. And we see more of, I love the juiced up Alfred getting punched by Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I like the episode of Batman or Superman the Animated Series where he's pretending to be Batman and he decks Bane. So
that is one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Mine too.
Because Robin's fighting Riddler and Mad Hatter, and they all pause and look like, "What?" And Robin's like, "He's been working out." I love it. I like how he's like, when Superman's like, precise muscle control, and he makes Bruce's voice, and then he makes Robin's voice, and he's like, "Don't do that again."
Yeah. Martha's to the point of she's overprotective to the point where she is violent and mean. Like you said, she shoots him. It's funny though too, because the gun doesn't really look like a gun. It looks kind of like a blaster from some sort. Like
Buck Rogers.
Something about what they would have made guns look like in the past if they said this is a gun from the future.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Batman and Robin escape, and they get in the Batmobile that's flying or a car, because Superman is underneath. And it's a great little shot, and I like how you're like got Jimmy Olsen chatting with Robin, kind of like, sidekick, friend to friend kind of thing, and you have Superman doing the heat vision to cauterize Batman's wound.
Yeah. No matter the version of Batman, he's still a badass. He's like, "Superman cauterized my my gunshot wound."
He's like, "Ah!" And we see
Well, what's cool is an extra shirt, an entire first aid kit, anything you don't have in that utility belt, Batman, a cauterizing iron. Thank you, Superman. So it's like something he'll carry. It's like, all right, I learned I need a cauterizing iron. So he's going to, like, just bringing it up. He's going to, you know, that he's going to make one to be able to take with him.
Exactly.
In case he has to do that to a wound.
And I love, like, that we're in this. I think it's so cool when you have, like, past. It's the past, kind of, with, like, futuristic technology is always fun to play with, because Jimmy says, I snuck Dr. Luther my portaphone. So, they have phones, and Dr. Luther is talking about a meeting. And then they meet, and there's Martha, Luthor, and the
Dr. Adam.
Yeah. And he has a serum he's giving to Martha, and she looks sinister in the picture where he's handing her the vial. And I did not see this coming. Did you? No, I did not see her just jabbing it into him. So Martha stabs her Bruce son. She says the best way to protect you from monsters is to make you into one. And she stabs him and injects the full serum. Meanwhile, Dr. Adam has a kryptonite necklace. And my first thought was he was turning into Bizarro. But no, it's like Solomon Grundy.
It's Bizarro because he says everything backwards. It's interesting because, like, what you not do to me? Mommy tickle me with needle, now my skin gets soft, me grow weak. Like he's talking like Bizarro. Everything's like the opposite. Me not beat Superman's face to pieces. So it's like Bruce has become Bizarro. But after everything is said and done, when they stop Dr. Adam and they get through to Martha, the serum is wearing off, but it only wears off on half of him. So this Bruce becomes Two-Face, but this Two-Face isn't just scarred and like he's half Bizarro, half Bruce.
Yeah,
but he's Two-Face. It's interesting.
He reminded me, though, like just the way they draw him, like more Grundy-esque. And kind of like Boss Grundy from Injustice.
Well, definitely with the suit, but he's wearing a nice suit. That's I can see probably that's why. But I straight got Bizarro from the speech that he has, from the way he talks. And then his last line, but not the other half. It's like I have two faces now, one human and one not bizarre. Me forgive you, mother. Me not going to kill you for what you do to me.
It's heartbreaking. I like how Batman tells Superman the wallop. And he goes, wallop, ha. And that's when he punches Bizarro Bruce. But the more important one is when you have Bruce facing Martha, and he says, the scheme you're running with Dr. Adam, turning one world into heaven and another into hell. You're only alive because I didn't aim carefully enough. I won't make the mistake. And, Batman tells her it's over. And we see Martha, and Batman takes his cowl off, and she kind of breaks down and like, what have I done? And it's just kind of crazy because she already knows about like the multiverse. So she's already prepared and comfortable with accepting multiversal things. And it's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, when she thinks about what she's done and what Superman and Batman are trying to do, and then she comes face to face with another version of her son, who's not scared, who she hasn't turned into a pansy and then a monster.
And then we find out with Superman doing the Scooby-Doo unmasking, and it is, who is Dr. Adam?
Lex Luthor.
Another Lex Luthor. The Superman's like, Lex Luthor, the unknown wizard. And Robin's like, Warden Luthor? And he's like, fools. I'm not the Lex Luthor from either of your worlds. But I guess he is a Luthor from a destroyed world. I'm trying to save from the Auteur's wrath.
See, I don't know. I haven't read Infinite Crisis yet. So I don't know if this is supposed to be, but the only thing that I thought about, and it can be any Luthor, the only thing that I thought about was, is this Alexander Luthor? The one who gets trapped with Superboy Prime, mm-hmm. and everything after Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, he says his world's gone. So many crises he's gone through.
It would make sense.
That's just what occurred to me. Thinking about this Luthor, he could be from anyone, any infinite world that got destroyed. He could be a Luthor from a new world, but I don't know. For some reason, it just went right to that Alexander Luthor.
I like how he's like, I'll show you, and he's running for the burn hole.
Yeah, he runs, he dives through the burn hole, and the Superman and Batman characters that we've been following kind of come out of the burn hole on the last page with Luthor, and they're small. They're there with the Auteur, with the Phantom Zone crystal. So it's like all this happened in between, mm-hmm. From the beginning where the Phantom Zone crystal shows up to the end, like all this happened at parallel times,
mm-hmm.
Because he pulls out the Phantom Zone. He says a Phantom Zone crystal. He said that earlier, that same line, a Phantom Zone crystal. And Batman was just over his shoulder the way he is. And so I think this all happened like parallel on one Earth and another.
That's what I thought. And then what I find interesting is when they come to the burn hole in the film strip, and he says, the reality behind all realities. And there's, the Batman, Superman, and Robin that we've been following, but they're like small. And then there's the Superman and Batman of our current like prime universe or whatever. And they look,
Earth Zero,
giant. So it's great. Like, I like it. I would even like more adventures of just this Batman and this Superman kind of bouncing between each other's worlds. The differences and what's going on there.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed the book a lot. I look forward to each issue, each time.
Oh yeah, me too. Just as a note for a couple other books like that I'm enjoying thoroughly is Tom Taylor's Batman the Detective and Wonder Woman, the one with Diana. I haven't read number 1 yet with Yara Flor. The one written by Michael Conrad and Becky Cloonan, art by Travis Moore. The one where she's in Asgard.
What do you call it? I got Junia, because she was talking about some stuff the other day. I got her the Wonder Girl, Yara Floor, like self-titled #1. I got the Stargirl, like Justice Society or whatever special with Jeff Johns. That was pretty cool.
I want to read that. I didn't pick that one up.
I picked that one up. And then, of course, I can't praise, like, I'm really excited for Tom Taylor to take on the Superman line, the son of Kal-El, because I really...
Oh, absolutely.
I love his writing, but man, I'm really loving his Nightwing.
Yeah. I mean, so many of his books are just so good. He's just a really good, really talented writer. And, I can't wait for him to be on a Superman book. I liked his John from Injustice. Not Injustice, sorry, Deceased.
Tom Taylor wrote Injustice. That's for the confusion.
He did.
Right? For anyone.
Yeah. At least like the first 3 years. Yeah. 2.5, 3 years. Yeah. So many of his books are very good, and very excited to see he gets. And what's really cool is he gets to take John, a relatively new character, and give him his first self-titled book, because he gets to write his first stories, his first self-titled stories. Yeah. So that's really big. It will be great because, the only kind of solo John we saw was in Infinite Frontier. And that book, like we talked about, felt so much like we got dropped in the middle of something. We weren't starting a journey. It's like something had already happened, and we were just kind of privy to part of his journey. And then we were like pulled out. So it'd be great to kind of actually see the story take place. We're going to pause for a quick second here, and we'll be back with Superman and Lois.
Hello there, Super Friends. I'm Kelly Gittner of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay and Back Issue Breakfast Club on the Back of the Cereal Box Network. Or you might just know me because you're interested in the virtual Super Friends celebration. If you don't know what the virtual Super Friends celebration is, I'm here to tell you about it. This is a perfectly free virtual convention that's coming up Friday, June 11th through Sunday, June 13th. This will be hosted on Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, our YouTube, and our Facebook. So links down here. And this convention, it's completely free for you to participate in. You can log in and watch the live streams, or you can watch the reruns if you don't have the time to watch the live streams. If you watch live streams, there is an audience participation aspect. This con is also a charity, and we are supporting the Actors Fund. And the reason we chose this charity is because the Actors Fund benefits, we're not talking about the blockbuster actors that are bringing in millions of dollars or billions of dollars per film. We are talking about people in the entertainment industry who were hit hard by this last year, or who were hit hard by other hard times. The Actors Fund is there for them, because raising money for a good cause, and you're getting a whole weekend's worth of entertainment, all from the comfort of your living room. So what more could you ask for, really?
All right, welcome back. And it is time to talk about Superman and Lois, episode 8, Holding the Wrench. Which, first of all, I like the title. I like how the title is used in the story. Now, when we review this, I'm going to I have a whole page of notes just on Lois. So I'm going to kind of focus on Lois a little bit and then come back and talk about her more at the end. Because her part is very large in the story, and I kind of want to focus in on some stuff with her. So I'm going to open up. I'm going to try to do this a little bit more character beat-wise, and that's how I've been taking my notes. I've actually gotten pretty organized about taking notes in multicolors so that I can, sift through them quickly. So we'll start off with the smaller story. Actually, what's crazy, this episode is very Lois and John centric. And I like that. There is not much Jordan in this episode. And Jordan has probably the least amount of screen time in this episode than anybody. And
I'm okay with that.
I am okay with that because I think it helps the dynamic of building the characters, because I feel like we haven't got a lot with John. He's been mainly more supportive. And also, it was nice to have an episode where Jordan's not screaming and yelling at somebody. It breaks it up.
Or just being the focus, you know? I mean, yeah, he's the one with powers. He's the one having more troubles in different ways, but you know, we definitely need to give other characters, especially his brother, the same amount of time.
Right. Exactly. So we're going to kind of start here. We're going to start and follow along. Ready? Here we go. Okay. We find out. We get our Lana and Kyle. We'll start with them because they're small. Kyle wants to be in the program from Edge. And I still think that's weird because he's not an employee of Morgan Edge's, and Morgan Edge is like hiring special people for this leadership thing, like within his company, not like a leadership program of like building the community. So just throwing that out there. And I like this scene because it starts off Kyle's being a really good dad. We find out it's his day off, and Sarah, there's an audition that she can for like a talent show or the theater. That wasn't real clear because they talk about kind of both. And Kyle's like, I got my guitar. We can work on some songs. He's being a really supportive father, and he wants to push his daughter. And she's like, okay, all right. And I wasn't exactly sure what day of the week it was, because I felt like the way they pop in and out of school was very weird. Because we see, we see Jordan, and Sarah in the hall, and he mentions, oh, you're a theater kid? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm signing up. And he mentions that he plays piano or played piano. And then with his anxiety and stuff like that, he had to quit. And then we cut back to Kyle at home with Sarah. And he pulls out all the sheet music he has, and he starts playing the guitar. And he has a really great quote about fear is just like short pain and regret lasts a lot longer. And he says something to her along the lines of, if the desire to sing is stronger than the fear, you have to go for it. So they start practicing. Okay? So you're following me. Sarah was at school. She's back home.
Right.
All right. So we'll continue with good old Kyle here. Now, Kyle is going to see Lana to show her a video of him and Sarah practicing. I'm going to throw this out there. He shot the video on his phone. Okay? You following me? He couldn't have messaged the video to his wife. Send a link, Dropbox, depending on how big it is. But he wants to be there at her work to show her. He's not bringing her flowers or food or anything else, just wants to show her this. And he runs into Leslie Lar, who basically tells Kyle, like, oh, we're so sorry that, you turned down the offer for the program that Morgan wanted you in, blah, blah, blah. Kyle goes in and immediately interrupts Lana and is like, we need to talk. And confronts her like, so I ran into Leslie Lar. She's his right hand. She said that Morgan wanted me for the program. So then Lana has to kind of like fudge and lie-ish, like, there is no job. Edge respects you, but you're not leadership material. And they kind of argue. And, he's angry and he leaves. So is Leslie Lar trying to cause problems between Lana and her husband? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know if she's trying to cause problems. I mean, she knows that for a fact with how hard he was pushing, he would have jumped at the offer. So, I mean, she might have some things about this, but we know that Lana doesn't want anything to happen to him, and she's spying for Lois.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she's lying to protect him and lying to him so he doesn't know that she's spying. And so I just think that the lies are colliding mostly.
Uh-huh. I'm just kind of interested in, Leslie Lars' position here. What exactly she hopes to get out of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if she's a resurrected Kryptonian, I might be spoiling.
Now we're good.
What is happening? I think we actually got that information last episode.
You and I have speculated that since the first episode where the guy was talking about not being himself, and the idea that they're not just giving humans powers, they're resurrecting actual Kryptonians somehow.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess maybe I'm not spoiling it, but
there's just more evidence in this episode.
Yeah, she's got stake in that. If she's really a resurrected Kryptonian, I mean, maybe she's the only one, and she knows at this point she's the only one. She's the only one who's lived that we know of. Last guy we saw self-destructed and whatnot, but she could be a Kryptonian with her own agenda, and when she gets more Kryptonians reborn, then what do they need Edge for?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. And, part of my speculation has been that maybe X-Kryptonite affects Superman's mind, or because we saw Clark standing there with no effect with the X. Or her agenda, she's going to use, I don't know, black kryptonite or some silver kryptonite, whatever, red, whatever, on Clark to turn him or get him on their side, which I really hope doesn't happen because I really don't want another mind-controlled evil Superman thing going on. And the other thing is I positioned this to Junia, and her name is Leslie Lar. And I'm like, I think about names because, I've seen it both ways, but I've seen Larvon and Lorvon, like Lor and Lar, for Lara's father's name before. And I'm just like, I wonder if she's going to be somebody like, Superman's, I don't want to say his mom, but maybe like his grandma, I don't know, or somebody like connected farther back in the lineage or something. Or it's just where they just don't realize the names and they just put it in there. But whatever.
No, what I heard listening to another podcast discussing episodes, Leslie Lar is another name, like an Earth name for a Supergirl villain called Lesla Lar.
See, and
she's a Kryptonian.
I remember that too, but we also know how they'll do amalgamized characters or change characters, so they're both interesting hypotheses. So
right. So
Superman is stealing villains from Supergirl, just like she was trying to steal all of his villains. Got it.
Exactly.
So we'll jump ahead, continuing with our favorite people here. And we see the tryout auditions back at the school. We're back at the school now, okay? And it's Sarah's there. Jordan's sitting there with flowers. John walks in and says to Jordan, just small lines about, hey, I need to talk to you. You're the only person that I have here. And Jordan turns to him and says, basically, whatever's going on, we're in this together. And you can see that John's distraught. But then there's a nice twist because he sees the flowers and he's like, who are those for? And he says, support. He's like, you're so friend zoned, man. And you see John's attitude change. And then, of course, Sarah, realizes my dad's not coming. And Jordan's like, I got this. One of my favorite lines of all time. And anything. I don't know why. It's just, I say it all the time. And Jordan's like, I can learn the chords. And then John encourages him. And Jordan goes up there and plays piano. And Sarah sings. And then Sarah confronts Kyle. And basically is like, don't make promises to me. And he's throwing away alcohol bottles or whatever. And he's like, I got some bad news about a job opportunity. And I wanted to blow off steam. And so he went from being awesome dad to back to being POS dad. Yeah. In this episode.
Because he got a bit of bad information. And instead of, dealing with it and being there for his daughter, he decided to get drunk. And completely forget her rehearsal or her tryout.
And she's like, don't promise me anything. Just do whatever you want to do. Just don't fake it. So that's that plot thread. Yeehaw. Now, let's go back. And we'll hit on the opening. Basically, after the title card scene, we see John holding a wrench and hands to his dad, who his dad is working on fixing the truck because it has the dent from Steele's hammer. And he's there and he's like, here, Dad. He's like, I'm okay. And Clark, which this is awesome. I swear how much I'd love to have heat vision in real life. Pulls it out and uses heat vision to kind of re-weld the truck. And then he has to fly off. Because he hears something and he's like, boys, and just shoots up and then flies away. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. He's bending the parts of the truck back, the hood, the grill, and he uses his heat vision to weld the grill to the bumper. And I mean, that would be a handy power, handy ability. This is where we get the name for the episode, though. Holding the wrench. Exactly.
And it even gets re-referenced again. So we have the visual as well as we get the actual lines. And I thought that was pretty awesome. We get Clark interrogating John Henry. And, they're talking about on Earth Prime, the mysterious connection, or the Earth Prime John died under mysterious circumstances. We get a flashback that shows John Henry's piloting his ship, Evil Superman's punching, and we see red, kind of like off their faces, and John Henry's saying something along the lines of almost there. So does that mean it's a crisis reference? Or was he trying to get him towards maybe some sort of red solar weapon that they had created? Don't know. At first I was like, oh, there's our crisis connection. But then I got thinking about it a little bit more and I was like, because we know how he did the red solar last week, and then the whole fact that he's saying almost there.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I really don't know.
And we get
my assumption is mostly crisis.
And John is so gung ho about like how much he hates Kal-El and being a traitor on this earth, and I'm like, and we'll pay it off in a minute. So just kind of keep that in your mind how he is so focused and angry, because this episode runs parallel with another story that we like to talk about. We get Clark and Lois kind of talking, and they reference, we've dealt with bad versions of you before. And I got thinking, when? Because technically, the other bad version of himself he fought really wasn't him as much as it was a guy disguised as him using a magic book that we've seen. And, even possessed Brendan Routh Superman really wasn't a bad version of him. So, that's just food for thought. So this was the one that I had a chuckle at. They bring in this dude named Trask, who's going to interrogate John Henry. And homeboy is tall. Okay? So Tyler is 6'1". And I don't know how tall the actor playing John Henry is. But this dude has to be like 6'6", 6'7". Okay, I tried to. Yeah. He hasn't done a lot of work because I tried to find out how tall he is. Like I was Googling it like real quickly. But homeboy is tall. And it is, yeah. So they're going to interrogate him.
Well, it's funny to see such a big guy bouncing off the walls.
Yes, because we find out. So Clark has to leave. Superman has to leave. And we'll get there in a minute. Superman jets off to take care of something. And we have Trask and Rossetti escorting John Henry. John Henry. Too many Johns. Back to his cell. And basically Rossetti kills Trask. He picks him up, throws him against the walls. And we find out that Rossetti has powers. He's one of the Kryptonian infiltrating people. That was a nice twist. Didn't see it coming. It tells us my thought for this was, when did this happen?
Makes me wonder if Leslie Larr hasn't resurrected other people or other Kryptonians behind Morgan Edge's back, because it was just last episode, wasn't it? That he said she was the only person who has survived this process.
And that's what made me think, when did this happen? And I totally see her.
Yeah.
I totally see her being like behind it and doing more.
Well, she was the one with the guy's with the woman's son at the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally see her.
Not Morgan Edge, but she's the right hand.
I totally see her doing more stuff behind Morgan Edge's back.
Me too.
Having her own thing. And I wonder if they'll do something else here where, and I hope not. I will say this right now. I hope not, but I'm just going to call it out. I hope it's not something where she's not really Leslie Larr. She's Ursa or Feora. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she wants to bring back Zod. Like, I'm just saying, I hope not.
I hope they keep her Leslie Larr.
So do I.
Not just give her a mask name, so that way we don't know that she's Feora or Ursa or something like that. Like we've seen her. Like there's no reason that she can't be Leslie Larr and just have her own machinations for what she wants to do.
Exactly.
As a Kryptonian villain.
Exactly. Now, John Henry had a line earlier, I want to say to Kal-El, before he was escorted off, where he said, he says he will always take his own kind. He's talking to Sam Lane over mankind. And in my notes I put, so was there never an Argo City? We don't know. We haven't seen Argo City post-crisis. Or Kara. Like, Kara is his kind. Once again, I feel like this is one of those plot lines about raising Kryptonians that would, pull in. That's why I kind of start to lean towards maybe this series takes place after Supergirl or something.
Right. Well, on John Henry Irons' Earth, what happened with Superman was his coming to Earth, and was he raised by the Kents?
Right.
Like we have no history of that other Superman except for, he did some saving of the day.
Mm-hmm. And then
was he the same Superman up until that point, and then just did a complete 180?
Exactly.
Kind of unlikely.
And like I said,
except for without like mind control or I don't know.
Mind control, or like I said, black or silver kryptonite or something like that. So what we see here is, hold on, I'm following my notes because I'm trying to keep these plot threads because I want to go back. So jump back. Hold on.
And you know, I say unlikely, but you know, I mean that's kind of what happened in Injustice, but it's a little different. You know,
yes,
what he was forced to do, and then like you could see his character tipping further and further over the edge as the first year of the story ran on.
Exactly, and that also had a huge inciting event. That
exactly.
So Superman comes back to the DoD, finds out that level 5 or section 5, what's going on, that there's Kryptonian weapons.
It's Project 7734.
Yep, Project Hell. And I love this line. Sam says, you go down there, there's a chance you might not come back alive. And Clark takes off. Doesn't hesitate, just goes. And this is where we kind of get our, I put Rossetti v. Superman scene. And he shoots him with an experimental synthetic kryptonite gas. And he shoots it. He's got a mask on, Rossetti does. And they're fighting. And Clark's weak, but he's still putting up a fight. Rossetti hits it a couple more times. We get a line from Sam Lane about get down there, and if they're not in a red cape, they're dangerous. Lois arrives at the DoD. Clark pulls Rossetti's mask off. They keep fighting, and there's just gas everywhere. And then John Henry takes out Rossetti. What does John Henry use to take out Rossetti?
A kryptonite spear.
And he says the line that out of all the Kryptonians that he had killed, this was his favorite way of doing it.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder how many Kryptonians there were on his Earth, because we only saw 4?
Yeah.
And we get the scene of basically John Henry standing over top of Clark with a spear of kryptonite. And Lois comes in. Now, John Henry has been asking to speak to Lois. And, Clark makes the statement of she doesn't trust you. And, he's angry like she shouldn't trust you. And Lois basically steps in and yells at him and says, I know the anger. She gives him a speech about the anger and the feeling the fault of not being able to save the ones you love. It's not your fault. But she says, it's not your fault. It's not his fault. Our worlds are different. And she says, he won't turn. And, and then she basically says that if you do this, what are you? You kill an innocent man. And
kill an innocent man, kill a hero. What does that make you?
And John stops and backs off. And
I told you she was going to get through to him.
Yes. I mean, she does. And think about, yes, it is very similar to Batman v Superman. Okay? If you think about the line where you have a good man who's gone through a crisis that has warped and corrupted his mind. And with, John Henry, it makes me just frustrated because you have the whole, it's a multi-Earth thing. It's not the same place compared to how Batman was. But the idea was he's so enraged and he's at that moment and he realizes what he's done. And he lets it go. That's kind of what this is. It was his moment of releasing his anger, and with Lois's voice, he realizes what he's done and where he is. And, he drops the spear and backs off, much like Batman dropped the spear and realized what he was about to do. And then he immediately flips the switch back to, I'm going I'm the good guy. I'm the hero. I'm going to do something,
Right.
And we have a quick.
We don't get so much of a switch in this,
We get the soft switch.
Yeah, because they actually release John Henry Irons.
On Superman's request, his and Lois's request, because we get a scene of John Henry is in front of the Kent house, and John Kent is looking at him, and he's like, the guy tries to kill Dad, and now he's our house guest.
Right.
And
but he's out there. He's got his RV out there, and
we get, what do you call it? Excuse me. Lois and John are. Superman basically says it's an act of trust, and John Henry says, "I let you live. I'm not ready to fight by your side." And Superman's like, I understand. And he goes, "Miss Lane," and flies off.
Yeah. Well, because Superman has a conversation with Sam before that about the kryptonite weapons. How Sam said he wished them never to be deployed, but it's his job to plan for the worst, and that means even against Superman. And
he says, "I hope for the best, but I prepare for the worst."
Yeah, and his Superman's concern is that it's happening.
Yeah, he says trust
that these Kryptonians, because of who he's come up against so far.
Yeah, he tells Sam about what he thinks Morgan Edge is doing, and that John might be right in some way. And he says trust works both ways. And what I like is we get the John Henry talking to Lois, and this is where I say this is the switch here, where he's releasing his mind. He says, "There's a lot I want to say to you. There's a lot I want to say, but you're not the woman I want to say it to. You just look like her."
Yeah, that was really good.
And then he gets in his RV, and the AI says, "Captain Luthor Blood." He says, "Change profile, erase Captain Luthor, set new profile, John Henry Irons." And then she refers to him as John Henry Irons, and he says, "Power off. I just want to drive for a while." And he drives off. And that's where I say you got the soft switch. Him admitting that this Lois is not his Lois. Is his mind his mind coming to terms with where he is.
Right. Well, that's the difference, That's a big difference. On his Earth, he was with Lois.
Mm-hmm.
Superman very well may have not had anybody.
Like you said, we don't know
on that
Superman
Earth.
journey.
Yeah, we don't know that Superman. So, and this one, he puts his trust in Lois, and we know that Lois and Superman have been together for 20 years almost, or pretty close to, because of the age of the boys and everything. And she knows that no matter what happens, that Superman isn't going anywhere. That this Superman is, he's the gold standard.
Yes, he is. So,
and that's the good thing about the multiverse and the interpretations. We want to see the gold standard, but there's room to have those interpretations where different things happen to him, and he reacts differently because he's not that.
Mm-hmm. You're right. So let's jump back. So let's jump back to John. Okay, let's follow John. John Kent, that is. John Kent is holding the wrench. Superman flies off, and my daughter wants cookies. What can I say? And Lois basically says she's going to check out the RV. And John's like, "Can I help you?" So John and Lois check out the RV. The computer comes up. They start researching John Henry. When Lois gets on the RV, the AI, which is interesting here, the AI basically says, "State who you are." And she says Lois Lane. Means John Henry must have changed it after Clark was on his RV. Because they didn't do that to Clark when he was on there.
Right. It just acknowledged a presence and acted like it was Captain Luther.
Yep. So he must have changed that. So John and her are looking around. They discover things, and Lois tells John about the multiverse, about parallel Earths. And he says, are there people just like us on other Earths? She says sometimes, and that's when they discover the pictures of John Henry, Lois, and their daughter Natalie. Now we'll skip ahead for something real quick here. We get a beat later. John is back. He's at the computer. He sees Natalie and says something along the lines of, "Hey sis, I wish I would have got to know you." So that's kind of cool. He acknowledges her as some sort of familial presence. And then
which is cool and weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
It's very sweet. It's very nice, but it's also is your mother from a different Earth and a different father?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's got to expand his mind, man. He can't be that narrow thinking.
Right. I mean, I'd probably end up reacting in a similar manner.
You would, because I think part of it is you would just look at it and you'd see this Lois and still trying to process. You'd see her like your mom.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So he sees the video of evil Superman killing Lois. That would mess you up for life. You would need to, you'd have issues after that. Even though trying to rationalize it's not really them, that would screw you up. And he finds guns and weapons. And the AI comes online and basically goes to kill him. And he has 20 seconds. And Lois signals for Clark. That's why Clark left the DOD. He arrives in time and stops the bullets. But shout out to Jordan's acting, because the fear on his face when Clark is over top of him is believable. Totally believable. I felt it.
Yeah. Well, the fear on his face when he sees the video of what happens to Lois,
that's his acting in this episode though, dude. Is great.
He's definitely the better of the two, in my opinion, of the boys.
He got the stretch in this, and that's what was really nice. In the next beat, we have Lois basically ripping him apart, and he basically states he was looking for weapons. He states that he is unarmed, and that Dad and Jordan are basically walking weapons. And Lois just gets angry and lashes out on him and rips him and basically says, I don't trust him. You were acting behind my back. She yells at him to get out of her face. And his face, when he's getting yelled at, is just, I feel it. And then Clark turns to Lois, who's freaking out, and she says she's fine. And he's like, I'm going to take that as a no. And says, it's okay to ask for help. I want to be that person for you always, but would understand if I'm not. And, the thing that Junia and I both said to each other is, John was acting the same way Lois does. You think about Lois before Superman, or when they first, whatever, she's reckless. She would go investigating, constantly putting herself in danger. And her son inherited those traits from her. So he is just doing what she would do. Investigate.
And with it being your child, she has a natural reaction. But then, I know we're going to go into her story.
Yep.
Seeing her story in this episode reflects on why, she reacted the way she did.
And that's why I've held off on really getting into hers. But at the end where John...
Well, I know that's the next one to talk about. That's the last one to talk about.
Yes, it is. So we have when John is looking out the window and sees John Henry. Lois enters the room after he makes a comment, and Lois says, I get that. I deserve that. And then Lois sits John down to talk to him and tell him what's been going on. So now we're going to back up. The episode opens with Lois in therapy. Okay? And I knew the actress who's the therapist, I'm like, she looks familiar. Do you know where she's from?
I couldn't place her. I know she looked familiar. I was like, I know her from somewhere.
She's done multiple things, but the second time I watched it, it hit me. She is the mom from the Santa Claus. She's Charlie's mom in the Santa Claus.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's where I know her from. And then I kind of looked her up and I was like, oh yeah, she did. She was in the one with Harrison Ford where he's the president, Air Force One. She's done a couple of other spots on CW shows. She was in the movie The Covenant. She's done a lot of things, but I was like, the Santa Claus mom. And that was the last of the joy of that scene. But
right.
Lois really got into the history of her and John Henry. She sees their daughter, Natalie. She lashed out at John. It's a miracle he's alive. And she's going through the stuff with her therapist. And what you find out is she says, you put your heart out there, referring to her son, and you hope and you pray that he's alive, and you can't do anything about it. Your heart is just out in the world as a parent. And we learned that Natalie was Lois's grandma. It was Sam's mother's name. And that's who they were going to name her after. And what we find out is that Lois and Clark, when the boys were 18 months, had a miscarriage. And it would probably be pretty late in the pregnancy for them to know that it was going to be a girl. And
yeah, halfway through.
Lois is, fear and stuff is that she blames herself, because she states about, like, she went through the grieving process of losing a child, but it was because of me, and the therapist tries to assure her, like, it wasn't anything that you did that caused this, that these things happen, and a lot of times it's a genetic thing. And she goes on to how she thought she grieved, she took the time, she dealt with it, and that it still haunts her and bothers her. And Lois sits with John at the end and tells him about the miscarriage, shows him a picture of the ultrasound because she's never talked about it or told the boys. And, she explains it more in detail, and we have a great scene of the two of them hugging. And once again, Jordan's acting in that scene is amazing. And, it was good. And, it was real, and it brought to light, I think, something, for Junia and I watching this was something, because now I have another thing that I identify with Superman, because for people who may not know, like, Junia and I went through 4 miscarriages. And that was difficult for us, and a lot of people just brushed it off. Each one was at a different point in the pregnancy, but a lot of people just kind of like, oh, it happens, not a big deal. But it is for a lot of people. You do grieve, you do feel the loss, because you're preparing your life for something, from naming it, to buying items, preparing a room, like whatever it is, you're investing your life in something in a new way, a new hope, and then it's gone. And that's something that you deal with. And I deal with it much different than Junia did. And I'm very happy for this episode, because it brings to light the fact that it is not something you can just shake off. It is something that can really trouble and emotionally damage a woman. So mad props to the writers for tackling it like they did.
Yeah, they handled it really well. And just to see those parallels on the other worlds, and Bitsy's acting along with Jordan's acting, her time in therapy and the time they spend together as mother and son. Yeah, very, very powerful, very strong. It's a very good episode.
This is where I think she really won me over as Lois. Like, I've liked her throughout this, but I've always kind of just been like, okay. But this is where her acting and the emotional beats really just kind of won me over, showing that vulnerable side of herself that Lois usually keeps so locked away. And I feel like as much as we've gotten to see really great Lois and Clark interactions, I feel like they are still, because of the storylines and stuff, they are still like kept apart. Last week was great getting to see them going like to investigate the X-Kryptonite together. And I would like a little bit more of that kind of partnership of them just being together. And then of course the one line I think we kind of skipped over was Clark told the coach that him and the boys are taking time off from football. I thought that was kind of interesting and weird at the same time because they're kind of just brushing off the football stuff. Like, oh, we're done with that. Mid-season, we're done. 2 players and the assistant coach all just quit. So,
yeah. I mean, the season there couldn't be too much left of the season to begin with.
True. And we are, speaking of season, we are in the middle. We are at the halfway point of season 1 of Superman and Lois.
Yeah. This episode here was probably more the episode they kind of anticipated as being kind of like the mid-season finale. You know what I mean? Like the first half, we got the reveal of John Henry Irons and him driving off, and like the first half is kind of resolved, leaving the Morgan Edge and the X-Kryptonite and things. Not resolved, but some mysteries are.
The mystery of the stranger is resolved. That whole what we thought was going to be a drawn out villain plotline is done, and now the second half is going to be more focused on the Morgan Edge side and is now
the X-Kryptonite and maybe Kryptonian invasion or something, whatever they have planned,
is what's going to come into play next. So yeah, this definitely feels like was the mid-season.
Yeah, and then they would probably actually start doing Supergirl here, but they had to swap that around. But it's nice we don't have to wait. We can keep just going straight on through here with Superman and Lois.
Yeah, we're going to go straight on through Superman and Lois and then pick right back up with Supergirl. So it's going to be a very full Kryptonian year. But we're gonna
Nothing wrong with that.
Do you enjoy listening to Southgate Media Group podcasts? Well, I know I do. And do you want to help support the shows? Well, the great way is you can help support the shows without having to give any more money. Just go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a link at the top to log into Amazon. Just log into your Amazon account, shop like normal, and part of everything that you buy goes back to help Southgate Media Group. It's simple, it's easy, and you're just doing the same thing that you usually do by buying stuff on Amazon. I mentioned something on the episode, and I wanted to have the comment here about how important this episode was. So welcome back to the Krypton Report, my original co-host, the woman of my dreams, my Lois Lane, my wife, Junia. Hi, baby.
Hey, what's up, Superman?
Oh, not much.
Yeah.
So
thanks for having me back on here, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Always. We live in the same house, and you'd think we could do this more often.
You'd think.
So real quick, just what did you think of the episode?
Yeah. So I thought it was a very profound episode, to be honest with you. I know you're kind of having me on here for a specific thought, if you will. Am I correct?
Yeah, but just kind of overview. Like we've wanted to get you back on to kind of just talk about the show because it's the show that you and I watch together. Like, I won't watch it without you.
No, I love the show. I think the show is absolutely fantastic. In general, I love the perspective that we get on Lois and Clark. It's just completely different and out there. Something that we've never been able to really see before to this depth. So it is refreshing in a lot of ways. This episode was pretty great, honestly. I thought it had a lot of depth. You got to see like different aspects of parenting, which I think is kind of like the common thread in the show in general. Like you get to see like, Lana and Kyle's parenting styles, and then you've got like Lois and Clark's parenting styles. In this one, I think it was really cool. We kind of got, got to see a different side of Lana and Kyle's daughter. What's her name again? Remind me. Sarah. Yes, we got to see like a different side of Sarah in this episode, where she was just kind of like hiding herself more. And honestly, it was very much so like absolutely a mirror of Jordan. It just kind of gives you that feeling and that vibe of like what things that he's gone through, and kind of like even parts of himself that he's hidden. So they are very much so, kind of like similar people. And it was cool to see him like try to, encourage her and support her and be the friend that, she needs. So to see her like going up there and doing something that she was afraid of and singing on stage, and then, him kind of like being there for her was really awesome. But definitely kind of going back to the whole parenting style side of things, you saw what it was like for, Kyle not being there for Sarah, Kyle not showing up and doing the fun thing with Sarah. And that was, it's kind of what we're seeing with this character. Like, he's very self-absorbed. Mm-hmm. So it's just a little bit more enlightening into his persona.
What I like is that, in the parenting aspect, Clark and Lois aren't perfect parents.
No.
And
nobody is.
They're giving them depth. And, that's like, one thing we said is like this show has a spiritual sequel continuation to kind of Smallville and Lois and Clark. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the Kents in both sets of those shows, like, they weren't perfect. I mean, you could say the Kents and Lois and Clark were more perfect, but it was also at a different point in life for their son and them. But I like that Clark, he's trying. He's a dad. Like, he's trying the best he can. He's good, but he's not perfect. And I mean, I don't think there is a perfect parent, because you always have problems, because it's just human interaction.
Right. And I think the thing about this show, like I was kind of pitching it to my mom,
which was a great car ride
last week. Yeah. I was trying to be like, hey, you need to get into the show. It's really good. The whole thing that I was mentioning to her is these characterizations and these storylines that we're getting, they make the characters feel so real, like so relatable. Like, this is what life feels like. I mean, not to say that we're Superman or anything, but some of us have jobs out there and careers that take up our time and, and even kind of take up our emotion, our heart, if you will, in a lot of ways. So trying to figure out how to juggle that person, if you will, or that persona, and then also juggle like life with family. That's what makes this show so flippin' fantastic,
Yes, it does. I mean, I've always said, like, it's just crazy to me how Smallville, like, started when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And then this show starts as I'm a parent,
I mean, it's perfect timing. Absolutely.
And it's crazy how this show has been able to, in this episode especially, and like, this is the big part we wanted to talk about, is with, having another element of Superman's mythos in this show that I relate to. And I kind of wish we would have gotten his point. That they had him really busy and he didn't really get to conversate on this.
Yeah.
But the fact that Lois had the miscarriage.
Well, okay, yeah. So we have the whole situation with Jonathan and the fact that she was trying to pull Jonathan in on something with her, so he didn't feel left out, right? she was trying to trust him in that moment to be a part of looking into John Henry Irons, mobile home or whatever you want to call it. It was not his home, his RV there. Yeah. They were looking at things together, and then she leaves him. I can't remember why she left him exactly, right?
Well, they both went inside, and then he went back out there.
Right. He went back out there by himself, and then the security
system. Which is a very
system,
Lois Lane thing to do.
Right. Totally. Once again, there's like a lot of mirroring going on in the show. Like, these are things that another character would do, or this is an aspect of another character. It's really cool, because that's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he goes back into the RV, and the whole security system doesn't recognize him, so it goes into defense mode. He almost flipping dies in the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we see Clark, busting in Superman and protecting his boy, which is fantastic. But then Lois just flipping overreacts and gets angry at Jonathan and calls him stupid, basically.
Yeah.
But the thing that we kind of want to talk about here, the crux of this, if you will, is when she kind of comes to the realization of where her anger was coming from. I'm gonna throw something personal out there. Like in my life, I do a lot of like teaching, and I do like kind of personal coaching type stuff. And one of the things we talk about is that, there's always a root cause to your anger, and your root cause to your anger is fear. So Lois realizes in this moment that, or not in the moment, actually later on when she's talking to her therapist, that the root cause of that anger that she had towards Jonathan really didn't have anything to do with Jonathan. It was her own personal fear coming out, losing another kid. And she had a miscarriage before, and that was Natalie, is what they were going to call their little girl. This is got really real. I had tears rolling down my face for sure watching this episode, because I understand that fear. We've gone through that in our life, and that has been a very crippling situation for us personally. And, once again, the show is just so relatable. And I love that they brought something that's kind of a taboo thing to discuss. Like, we don't talk about this in public. Miscarriages aren't something that you go around and parade. There's something that we're told to just get over or to move on from easily. And that is not reality. Too many women out there, too many men even, who've been a part of the situation, even though they don't completely understand, they're still mourning the loss of their child. And there's different psychological issues that occur after you have a miscarriage. And this completely resonated where it was like, oh yeah, like I've seen this happen for other people. I know that I've personally experienced things that were so very similar. But anyway, it was just so refreshing to see that being brought to the light. Like, this is an issue that matters.
It very much is an issue that matters, and the whole people brushing it off and not understanding it or not really, caring, and I just like that it was touched upon. And even for I wish we would have gotten kind of Clark's perspective.
Yes.
Because I think back, the line in Superman the movie, which is like a huge deal in that film, is with all these powers and I couldn't even save him. And he's talking about, of course, in that context is his father.
Right.
So think about that. With all of his powers and things at his disposal, he lost a child too.
Right. He couldn't save his child.
He couldn't save his child and help his wife.
Right. And that right there I mean, that is a situation that you know as well as I do. It leaves you feeling powerless. Like, you don't know how to reach that person always. You don't know how to help them. And Lois Lane is a very independent woman, and there are so many women out there that are very much so like her, you know, very independent, like to pretend like everything's okay. And we just kind of, you know, push that crap down inside of us, you know, and this is getting really deep. But yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where there needs to be more discussion about this. This is a bigger issue than we talk about. And we do not support women. We don't support families that go through this kind of, loss, really. A lot of people don't view it as a loss, but it is. There's a connection and a love, and you do preparations like she was kind of talking about in the episode. You prep for that child coming into the world, and when they don't, it's it's heartbreaking. It's earth-shattering. So to see that, and oh my gosh, she did such a beautiful job emoting that.
This is the one scene of her as an actress where not that I thought she was a bad actress, don't get me there, but this scene proved to me that she is an actress. And like, I know from like personal like stuff before she got this role, like she just had her first kid shortly before getting the role of Lois Lane.
Yeah.
She was actually pregnant when they filmed her scenes in Elseworlds. So her daughters were like, what, 3-ish maybe? 2 or 3-ish. Elseworlds was 2018. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so she understands. She's probably able to kind of put herself in the mindset of what it would feel like to lose that child. And that's profound for sure. Yeah, so I definitely think that was, a fantastic thing to bring up. And it brings more to her characterization. Like, a lot of people look at Lois Lane and they think, super strong, like, can get through anything kind of woman. Like, she's more like the Woman of Steel, persona. But the fact of the matter is she also has kryptonite that can get to her. There's things that can really, tear her up as well. And we got to see a piece of that. We got to see a piece of her humanity, a chink in her armor, if you will. And that was really profound for her character. It gives her a well-rounded, relatable characterization.
Yes,
you're not just thinking, oh, this is just some textbook Lois Lane. Like, this is a beautifully deep, just kind of
characterization. Like, just you're feeling with the growth of the character. Something I just thought about that I wonder, because we watched the episode, we bought it, the season on Apple. I wonder when it aired live if there was any kind of like title card, like after the episode or commercial, about like if you've gone through trauma like this or you had an issue, how to reach out for counseling, like they've done on other shows of similar things when they talk about issues like this. I wonder if that was something that happened. Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't blame them for that, honestly. Like, actually, I really would hope that they would do that. This, like I said, is such a major issue that is not taken care of the way that needs to be. Mentally, emotionally, we just don't support people who go through this kind of loss.
It's real, and if someone is dealing with it, like it's an important issue that speaks to us, that touches us, and it's when something in fiction like this, like a comic book movie, a comic book show, but when it hits home like that, like it stays with you. And I thank the writers and director and producers and everything for bringing up the subject matter with such a powerful character in such a way that it kind of brings light, like we said, to it in a situation where people are just, it happens, no biggie. You brush it off, whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's not something that you get bereavement time for.
Nope. I dealt with that with some stuff with jobs, but I won't go into that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it's not something that's taken very seriously. And in this, we're actually able to kind of, for people who don't know what that feels like or looks like, they're able to actually see that. And for people who have experienced it, they're able to recognize within a character that maybe they love and they appreciate that, they're not alone. And I think that's why these things need to be brought to light and why this, for me, was such a great moment, because we need to be able to bring awareness to these different problems, honestly. So.
Well, thanks, Ju, for popping in and giving us your thoughts here. We like hearing your voice and having you on here. I'll have to get you back here more often. My very, very deep thoughts on this episode. Yeah, it got kind of deep with me, but obviously you don't listen to me enough, because there was an episode that we recorded where I literally cried. I cried because it was just such a beautiful story.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help it. I go into like the, the depth of the character and and even like bringing in like the real world stuff that I deal with too. So that's why we're here talking about it. It's just to show the importance and how it does touch people who's been affected by this. So yeah, be mindful. I think that's kind of like the message here with this episode. Like, be mindful. And I know it's not the whole episode, don't get me wrong, but this part of it, like, be mindful of the people that are around you, what they experience, try to be compassionate towards those situations that you don't see the value or the worth or the pain that they may be experiencing. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to understand that they're struggling, and if you know somebody who's gone through it, help them, be there for them, listen to them, and if you've experienced it, I hope that you are also not brushing things off, and that you are taking care of yourself and taking care of the grief that comes along with it, because we can see in this beautiful example of what actually happens when you don't. And just remember, everybody, enjoy Superman and Lois. Shoot us any messages, thoughts, comments. Hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And it's okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask for help.